call this meeting of the Common Council to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Mackey.
Here.
Teeter.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Meyer. Here. Niles. Here. Oldenburger.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Schreiber.
Thank you. Tonight we're going to have first order of business is a presentation by Baker Tilly, our auditors. Welcome Julian Bosby for the general purpose financial statements and utility purpose financial statements audit. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Vasvi Joshi. I'm a senior manager at Baker Tilly within the Madison office, and I'm in charge of the city's financial audit. Just to explain how the audit process works, we do the audit in different phases. There is a preliminary phase, there is a final fieldwork. We look at the city's processes and controls. We talk to a lot of people. We gather audit evidence. We have confirmation processes and look at a lot of other documents, and that's how we go through the entire audit process using different auditing techniques. So that's what we did again for 2024, and after that we issued the city's audited financial statements. So those who have paper copies, you should have two bound documents. So one of them, so that is the audit results that Mayor is showing, and the second one is the audited financial statements. And there is a table of contents under there, and what follows the table of contents is the auditor's opinion, which is the city has received an unmodified or a clean audit opinion, which is the highest level of assurance your auditors can give you. So congratulations again on receiving a clean, unmodified audit opinion. What follows the audit opinion is management's discussion and analysis. So that's just a comparative information that is presented in a very summarized format. So if you don't have time to go through the entire set of financial statements, I do recommend just going through the management discussion and analysis. Even further, summarized version is what is pulled on the screen. It's a very short handout we call financial highlights. So that's just some trend information and some other information that we have put together for the city's general fund, the debt stuff, and that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to go through that short handout right now. So the very first page on there talks about general fund balances by categories. So these categories are determined by a GASB, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board. They tell us what goes in each category. So the very bottom of the category is the non-spendable fund balance, which is really not in spendable form because it's tied up in either like prepaids or long-term assets and such. So you can see it has gone up slightly compared to last year. So it just varies year after year depending on how much you have in prepaids and all. The next two categories, the general fund didn't have anything in there. And the next category is the assigned fund balance. As you can see, it was about $1 million last year. In 2024, it went up to close to like almost $2.4 million. So this is the fund balance that the city management and city council has set aside for different purposes. Historically, the city management has been doing a really nice job setting money aside for projects that they know are upcoming in next year. So it could be just part of the budget process or just some other projects like capital improvements, fire station improvements and some other projects. So the details of all of that is on page 47 of the financial statements. The city again has set aside almost $2.4 million for all of those projects. What remains is unassigned or just free fund balance that is available for any other spending the city chooses for. So as you can see, the total fund balance did go up by almost like 1.3 million. It was about 3.6 last year. It went up to about 4.9 million. And it is divided into all of these categories. So a positive, nice increase in fund balance. The middle section on that page shows how it compared to what the city budgeted for, and then how the actual numbers look like. So the middle column is the final amended budget. So you can see the city had anticipated a use of almost $500,000 from the fund balance, but ended up actually in the positive of 1.3 million. So then that's a positive variance of almost 1.8 million. And as you can see, both revenues and expenditure categories have positive variances. And this is because the city had increases compared to budget in different revenue categories like building permits, interest on investments. There were some miscellaneous revenues, there were some sale of land and assets. So all of this ended up almost 752,000 over budgeted in revenues. And similarly, in the expenditure category, the city had savings in almost every department, public safety, public works, general government, cultural recreation. So all of these categories had savings compared to budget on almost 1.1 million. So if you want to see details of all of this, it's on pages 56, 57, and 58 of the financial statements. Moving on to the next page, this shows a trend information of the general fund's unassigned fund balance as a percentage of revenues. So the city has a fund balance policy where they like to see this unassigned fund balance between 15 to 20% of the general fund's revenue for that year. So as you can see, the city's fund balance has been in the 30% range all around, starting from 2020 through 2024. So really exceeding your policy very well, and there are also other criteria. So you can see the other dots at the top are median ranges of other governments your size that Baker Tilly audits. So we gathered their data too, so you can see they are also pretty similar to where the city is. And there is also GFOA recommends a minimum of no less than 2 months, which is about 17% of general funds revenue. So definitely well above that range too. So very healthy looking fund balance for the general fund. So no concerns there. The next page is the city's debt information for 5 years. The Wisconsin state statutes say that any government's general obligation debt needs to be within 5% of its equalized value. But the city's policy is even more stricter. City says we don't want to see more than 3% of the equalized value. So you are seeing three lines. So the top line is where the Wisconsin state statute debt limit is. The middle one is the 3% debt limit that the city has as part of their policy. And the bottom line is where the city's actual general obligation debt is. So that was at about 20.8 million. So the big jump that you're seeing from 2023 to 2024 is because the city paid off about 1 million of debt, but issued about 12 million of new debt. And that's most of it is for the new TID 11, and then there is also some debt for the fire station project. So again, even with the increased debt, it's still well within the city's debt policy and definitely within the statutory policy for the Wisconsin. Next one, page 4, also some trend information. This is debt service to non-capital expenditures. We want to see this trend to see how much the total governmental fund expenditures were and what percentage of that is debt service. So again, you can see the dotted line is city and the top dots are where other governments your size are. So the city is kind of almost similar to where those other governments are, and it's not jumping too much up and down. So we do like to see like a consistent, trend information here. But again, no concerns there either. That's all I had. Over to Jody.
Thank you very much. So my name is Jody Dobson. I'm a principal with Baker Tilly, and I focus on enterprise funds, so your water, sewer, and stormwater utilities that charge a fee for service and are more of a full accrual business style accounting. So we have one page on each here just with some key metrics. The first, for the water utility, you have a number at the top that's a little different. The water utility is regulated by the Public Service Commission at the state level, and they establish rates with the goal of earning a return on your investment in capital assets. And the last rates that were done had a goal of a 5.5% return on investment. Your actual rate of return for 2024 was a bit below that. It was just under 4%. And that's going to vary over time with unusual expenses from year to year, because we're looking at the operating income, trends and inflationary increases, and then also as you invest more in your system, that base you're trying to earn on is growing. So that's just something to monitor over time, as one indication of when you may want to go back to the PSC and revisit rates. That said, you had new rates, I think it was through the simplified process effective January 1st of 2024. And so as we look at the table here in the middle of the page, we can see that the increase in revenues and the increase in expenses, which was primarily driven by maintenance costs, were right in line, and you've maintained a very consistent margin for the last 3 years of revenues over expenses. As a result of that, when we look at the unrestricted cash reserves for the water utility, about 1.5 million, which is about 8.5 months worth of operations. The Government Finance Officers Association would say you should have a bare minimum of 3 months worth of operations, plus some consideration of what's your annual capital spend. So I think that's a really good spot to be in where you're at. And then the last bar we have here is looking at, for all of that investment in infrastructure that the utility has, whether it be mains and meters and hydrants or towers and wells, putting it all together, only about 13% of that is financed with outstanding debt. So that's a very low amount of debt and gives you the flexibility if there were to be a project that you needed to do. The next page looks at similar information for the sewer utility, but we won't have that rate of return because the sewer and the stormwater utilities are regulated here at the local level, not at the state level. So for the sewer utility results, we can see that for the last 2 years, operating expenses have outpaced operating revenues. Not by a lot, but just by a small amount. And a large piece of that is going to be non-cash depreciation, but still something just to be monitoring as you're looking forward to where do you think those expenses are going to be and in the budgeting processes. As we look at the cash reserves for the sewer utility, we can see that at the end of 2024, they were about $500,000, and that was just under the 3.5 months worth of operations. It has been steadily decreasing for the last 5 years. Again, as those operating expenses have been increasing faster than revenues, that's not surprising, and you're also reinvesting in the system. So just something to monitor. The sewer utility does have some what's called revenue debt outstanding. So there you have to meet a debt coverage requirement, and we've shown that. You're required to be at 1.25 times and you're at 2.37, so very strong in meeting that. And again, the sewer utility has very little debt outstanding relative to its overall investment in capital. So consistent results over the last few years, but something just to monitor as to where the last couple years anomalies, or is that the new trend? And then the last page looks at the stormwater utility, where here we see very stable revenues over the last 5 years, and a little bit of an anomaly there with the expenses, that they have been going up and then dropped down a bit. The largest driver in those expenses is the non-cash depreciation, and with the very small amount of debt outstanding at the bottom of the page, that kind of balances itself out. So the stormwater utility still has a very strong unrestricted cash there in the middle at over almost 2 years worth of operations, if you will. So that has really allowed for the ability to finance capital out of cash reserves. They get built up do a large projects and then work on it again. It's kind of a normal cycle. And so that seems to be working just fine, but again, just something to monitor if the project schedule were to change drastically. So I think Basby just had a couple other comments related to the other report.
So the second report that everybody has a paper copy of, that's the audit results, and that's just the required communication that your auditors are required to have as part of the auditing standards. So that's just our responsibilities, the city's responsibilities, any new accounting standards, any material weaknesses that we have noticed, non-attest services that we have provided, which is just a standard financial statement preparation and journal entries and that kind of stuff. Any material adjusting entries that we have noted as part of the audit. So all of that information is included in that report, so we do recommend you just page through it. And all of our contact information is also in that report. Mine, Jody, Paul is there. So all of our information is in that report. So if you have any questions as you go through that report, then please feel free to reach out to any of us. And lastly, I just want to thank everyone at the city for providing this opportunity to be your auditors. We enjoy working with all of you. We are thankful to the city staff who's always very cooperative. They always answer all of our questions, are prompt in responses. So we couldn't have done this audit without all of their help. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Do any council members have any questions of Osby or Jody? Well done.
I would just say great job by our staff.
Yeah, Tim, if you could just kind of give us a little bit of just your impressions of this financial audit in our position. I won't say compared to where we were 20 years ago because it's considerably better. But what does this mean for the city of Jefferson and our bond rating and how we're viewed by potential lenders or investors?
Well, I actually could talk about it 20 years ago because I've been here 19 years ago. So
Okay.
I think generally what I can say is the city's worked really hard to build its fund balance. You had talked in terms of about $2.5 million on our unreserved. I think 19 years ago, I think that number was about $700,000. And that's important to us because, right, we collect the major amounts of our revenue just a couple of times a year. We collect taxes twice, right, in January, and the second installment is July, and we get our largest highway aid and shared revenue checks in November. And in between, you better have enough money in your savings account so you can pay people. So, you know, our fund balance allows us to cash flow the organization really nicely. And what you had mentioned, Dale, in regard to bond ratings, so the city has a double A bond rating, which is extremely good for a community our size. I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's just too hard to make better. But certainly the potential is for it to downgrade. And if you're going to enter the market, you're going to issue bonds. That rating's important because you're going to issue bonds, take on debt at a lower rate of interest. So, you know, all in all, I think, you know, I would generally say it's a pretty solid financial position that the city finds itself in.
Thank you. And a good deal of credit goes to you and Tanya and our staff for leading us and helping us be responsible and serve the taxpayers. Are there any other questions? Tim, Ralphie, Jody? Hearing none. Thank you very much, ladies. We
Thanks a lot,
appreciate you
ladies.
coming out. We appreciate your good work. And it's always a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to public participation. And when they come, thank you. Yeah, if you want to just leave that on, we appreciate it. At this time, we'll entertain public participation. We ask that if you'd like to speak, Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and your reason for appearing, and we ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. So, I'll start on this side of the room. Is there anyone over here who would like to speak?
I guess I will. Thought I could wait until after everybody else had started. Good evening. My name is Noelle Wilharm, 135 North German Avenue. I'm here about the park, of course, and I just want to say I think it's great that we are looking at doing an inclusive park at Stop and Bach. My issue is the size of the footprint of the park, and whether we can maintain it. I was part of the committee and the group that built the Playland of Dreams, and I know firsthand that the city didn't take over that park the way it was supposed to and did not help maintain it. Ellen, who was a driving force, and I can't remember her last name right now, but she was the one who was always trying to get people to weed, to paint, to do stuff at the park. And the committee was kind of left to just take care of it themselves. I fully believe that it would have been nice to have this park at Riverfront. I don't know that I still would have had the same happiness or I still would have been unhappy with the price tag. I also think that this creates another disparity between the east and the west side. If we're gonna, I talked to Park and Rec Director, if we spent $100,000 on west side, where there is lots of apartments, lots of kids who need the outdoor space, and then we're going to put $760,000 into the haves community, I think that's a disparity, and I think that is something that we should look at. I want it to be accessible, I want it to be there, but I don't think we need to put this kind of a price tag in that neighborhood. And I think we need to be fair. There's no playland, or there's not much of playlands anywhere else in town. And I don't think we have talked about the rest of the parks, and I think it totals to $6 million that you're looking at doing. I deal with grant funding all the time. I know Chick had said something about applying for grants. Every day, we have a grant pulled back from the federal government that we've been promised. It's just something we're dealing with at UW-Madison, and it's not gonna change, at least under this administration. And I'll tell you another thing, that grants for equity, you cannot say equity anymore. Those are an issue. So I'm just being cautious. We've got a good report here. I'd like to see the city continue that. But what attracts people to cities and families to cities are affordable housing, and we talked about that earlier, low taxes, good roads, and maintenance of the assets that we do have. So I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you for your time.
Next lady, I'm just gonna go down the line if you'd like to speak. If not, no, okay. Anyone else in the front row? No? Okay. Yes, sir.
My name's Mike Prosser. I live at 203 North Jackson Avenue in an apartment house. I lived over on Dodge for 30 plus years. My kids used that park growing up. I just found out about this afternoon, which I find it incredibly ironic that a $1.54 million job is being looked at, and I think the city did a disservice to the taxpayers and not engaging them more. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's my opinion. I see a gentleman sitting here with a Rhinelander t-shirt on. I was born and raised in Rhinelander. About a month ago, they broke ground for the very same type of park that you're trying to get here. They spent, I'm gonna guess it's been close to 5 years, engaging the hell out of the public. People donated money to it, and all I see here is 1.54 million with no explanation. I think the city needs to say, okay, we want to proceed with this plan, so to speak, but they need to go back to the public. Because you made a statement in a previous meeting that you were elected, and almost like, therefore, we should respect what it is that you're telling us. We put you in the offices to do the best job. We think you can do the best job and try to work for the best for our community. You're not making a mark here. You gotta take this back to the public, and it's way too much. It's too much money. And she made a statement in the previous meeting that says it's level ground. It's not level ground. My kids had skateboards and they'd go use the bathroom and they'd step out and make one step and go all the way down the sidewalk without putting a foot on the ground. So it's not level ground. But I just think you owe it to the taxpayers. That's why there's all these people here. To go back and take the look and do the diligence and spend the time. Thank you.
Anyone else in the second row over here?
Can I add one more thing, please?
Sure.
I'll do it briefly. How many of you people knew Charles Stoppenbach, or know the history of Charles Stoppenbach? That guy was the driving force behind businesses and such in Jefferson. His family, in 1912 or 1915, there's two descendants of the family in the crowd here. They went back and looked at the minutes to the meeting. And that family donated that parcel of land, and it says right in the minutes of the meeting, for a park. It doesn't say it, and granted back then, I don't know what you classified a playground, but the bottom line is, I think you owe it to the family too, to do more work with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else in the second row? Over here? If not, we'll move to the third row. Is there anyone in the third row that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Frank Bristol. I live at 523 East London Drive. I moved to Jefferson in 2004. I picked the house that I picked because of its proximity to Stoppenbach Park. I raised a child here, many summers, many kids coming in, spent summers here, spent time playing in that park. Also used the bike bridge to cross over and use all the parks in town as they got older and were able to go out on their own and do stuff. And I observe that park. I walk around the new conservancy. I walk past the park regularly, and I've watched over the years that I've lived here. I saw the tennis courts not get used, then they were raised appropriately. I've seen that backstop that was sort of a ball field at one time doesn't really get used anymore. The ball field usage is more on the west side of town. And I think that the improvements that I've seen make that park, it modernizes it, consolidates the playground area, gives a larger playground compared to what is there now, adds the bathroom facilities that are needed for the beautiful shelters. I've seen the shelters rebuilt over the years. I see new sidewalks. I see better connectivity between the park and the conservancy. It's a beautiful conservancy. I walk on that regularly. And I think this is a good plan for this park because it improves the utilization of the park, it's better efficiency, and it makes the park more accessible to more people. That park is inclusive. They're adding parking stalls. People park all up and down it. There's people from all over town. People from other towns come here to be in this park. So that park is accessible. It's not a east versus west in Jefferson. The footbridge, the bike bridge connects the community. I have friends on both sides of the river. Everybody loves that park. And I think that these plans are good plans.
Anyone else in row three? No? I'll move back to row four. Anyone in row four over here care to speak? Okay, row five. No one? Okay, I'm gonna start on this side. I'll get to the people on the outside. Anyone in row one over here care to speak? No? Okay, anyone in row two?
Hello, my name is Cindy Bauman, and I just heard about that there was going to be changes to the Stoppenbach Park like in the last week. I agree that the citizens of the city were not informed that anything was being planned, and that should happen. I believe if you make a big change to the park, that's gonna affect the quiet neighborhood it's in and the beautiful green space and the beautiful trees that are there. I don't know where all that money would come from, but I sure know that the city needs to spend more money on roads. We drove here on Dewey Street to come, and that road is just absolutely awful. I know the city says they want to go outside. We try to ride our bikes, and some of the roads you can hardly ride your bikes on. So I don't know where you're coming up all this money to do stuff to parks when our roads need so much work. Thank you.
Could you please give your address for the
Oh,
record?
sure. 515 East Wolcott Street.
Thank you, Cindy.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else in row 2 over here? Anyone in row 3 that would like to speak? Anyone in row 4 who would like to speak? No. Anyone in row 5?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy Johnson. I live at 304 East Linden Drive, right across from St. Mark's Church. I grew up at 421 East Linden Drive. At the 5 o'clock meeting, I was offended when it was implied that people that have concerns about the changes are somehow against accessibility improvements. I have a handicap myself. I use handicap parking sticker. I've not spoken to a single person who has concerns whose position is that they don't want accessibility improvements. I don't believe that that, for an instant, is anyone's concern. I think the issue is the size. The size of the structure, my understanding is it's over 16,000 square feet. I did some research, looked at some other parks that have a similar size structure. They are all larger than Stop and Dock Park. In some cases, significantly larger. I'll give you just a couple examples. In a Common Walk, the Imagination Station playground, which has come up often, is 16,000 square feet. It's part of Roosevelt Park. That park is 99 acres. Stop and Dock is 6.5. Yet the structure that's proposed is the same size. The issue isn't accessibility or even putting in a new playground structure. I don't know of anyone that wouldn't support something much smaller. The issue is the size. No one's against a bathroom that I've heard about. I think parking is an issue, and I think the size of the structure. And while I understand that there were some information sessions or listening sessions, I don't think they provided the detail to the community for folks to know that they should go. And I don't think they were particularly well attended when you look at the overall population of the city. I think it was a check the box, we did this, now we can move forward, we offered it, and it's done. But if you really want to get the input of people, you reach out, you contact the people that live in the area. I am very pleased to hear people that are in favor of this here tonight. The whole point is to work collaboratively together to come up with something that the whole town supports. It's not just about one neighborhood, it's about the whole city. And I think the woman that spoke first that talked about the equity issue, I think that is an issue. So I would urge you, as was discussed at the 5 o'clock, to pull the Stop and Dock Park piece out of the corp, pass the corp if you must in order to get grant funding to move forward, but then ask that Stop and Dock get considered separately and come back for that later. I thank you all for your attention and your service. Thank you.
Anyone else from row 5 there? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Bob Zentz, 719 Hill Street, Jefferson. Ms. Johnson is my daughter. My point is, there's much better locations. I just heard about the one Rock River Road at the 5 o'clock meeting. That's all gonna get filled in. What is wrong with putting it right behind the band stage? Even if you have to fill it in, you've got a park, you've got parking, you've got parking, you've got a restroom, even if you have to add another one. And now it's part of a big park, not this small, we'll say, neighborhood park. And if we go back to filling in areas, has anybody looked at filling in where the playland is? Raise that so that the neighborhood wanted it there, but the DNR said no. Raise it. Has anybody looked at that? One other one would be where the old county shop was. It's part of a big park. Lots of room. It's not in a neighborhood. And the neighbors that are there are probably much happier to have that than they had the county shop there with plows going out in the middle of the night in the middle of winter. I just think there's better locations. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brad Foskett, 361 East London Drive. Thank you all for your time and effort, not just in this. I know you were talking about the audit. There's no doubt in my mind you guys put a lot of time and effort into everything that you do. The audits or the park plans, you have to run a city. But how did we get here? How did we get a room full of people kind of at odds with the board or the city council? I've spoken to a lot of residents. I run stopandblockpark.com. For those people who don't know, thank you for coming. And they were all kind of surprised, as I was. And I look back, going back to Tuesday, November 21st, 2017 in this room, the board was altered. So we no longer have wards. We don't have anybody to go to. And so tonight I think is the culmination of the problem of the all alderpersons at large board. We have no representation in this room. You guys can vote however you want. You'll probably get reelected because of it. The alderperson's job, though, is to also inform their constituents. This sure didn't happen. We had no idea that this was going on. On my last call with Mr. Opperman, thank you very much for taking those. I appreciate those. You said you'd always do what's best for the city of Jefferson. I believe him. He's going to. What he didn't say is he's going to do the best for the neighborhoods or for the people. It's going to be the best for the city, going back to what I said earlier about not having an alderperson that we can go to. We had collectively asked each person on this board if you would vote to object to this tonight. We could not get one confirmed no, not one. And I'd like for everybody to ponder that for a second. We got a regional park here, right? We're trying to bring in people from other communities. So if we can't get one of you to represent us, are you representing people from Fort? Are you representing people from Watertown? I mean, if that's the point of bringing the people in from other locations, what about us? I thought we were supposed to be the ones who were being represented. Please vote down both Stop and Block Park and Corp. We are concerned with the $6 million price tag. There are other concerns about this, a lot of them that have been brought up. But how quickly this has been brought up is the biggest concern. Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else in row 5 there? Sir in the doorway? Yeah. Here to speak. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, per Mr. Freitag's advice, I'm here. I'm a non-resident. I actually reside in the city of Fort Atkinson. My concern isn't about Stop and Block Park.
Sir?
My concern is,
We asked that it was for city residents tonight. I think I made that clear at the first meeting. I don't know if you want your answer.
no, I'm coming here on the advice of city administrator to spoke with him at Great Lakes prior to Goat Fest.
Do you own property in the city of Jefferson or would?
Former,
Okay.
yeah, my understanding is that to address, ADA non-compliance, I don't have to be a resident of the city I just have to make it obvious and bring it to council's attention. There's a lack of accessible parking on East Dodge
Still need
Street.
his name and address.
Your name and address, please.
William Cunningham, 800 North Main, Fort Atkinson.
Okay,
There's a lack of accessible parking on East Dodge Street as well as on South Main Street in order to access these buildings. There is no accessible parking in the northernmost parking lot for City Hall. There is access to the facility that is ADA compliant, but that is the only thing that is compliant. As a driver with disabled tags, one of the things that I have to show in order to qualify for that is an inability to be able to walk 200 feet without needing a rest or with mechanical assistance. I obviously meet that, but the concerns are with the lack of access in actual City Hall. Not only that, but before I was able to bring it to Mr. Fratay's attention, there was also non-compliance with Rotary Park and the railroad tracks. And I would very much respectfully love for you guys to address that. During the festival, I have a severely disabled daughter, wheelchair bound. Her wheel was actually stuck in the track. I attempted to get the attention of, we refer to him as rent-a-cops. I don't know the young man's name. He was filling in, for security purposes. But I attempted to get his attention for assistance in being able to move this wheelchair out of that. He acknowledged, turned his back and walked away, which I felt was, an utmost insult. But with that, I spoke at great lengths with Austin Schmidt and with Tim here with regards to the lack of proposed disabled parking for that festival. I understand that for Demita the Kite that you're going to be closing down South Gardner again. Near as I know, there hasn't been any discussion about allowing any accessible parking in lieu of the places that are going to be taken away for that street closure. Again, I'd like to see that addressed, on a more regular basis. Although I'm not a resident of the city any longer, I do conduct a lot of business here as well as visit rather frequently. I've always been a supporter of Goat Fest, and I appreciate, what has been done with the riverfront properties, without a doubt. But we can do better, and I would like to see it be done in a timely fashion. I've already filed a ADA discrimination complaint with Department of Justice with regards to the lack of accessibility to City Hall from any location. It's rather asinine to have to traverse, 300 meters from the back parking area where there is disabled parking to be able to access an elevator in an adjacent building in order to access City Hall, when there is an entrance right there that has a ramp as well as recognized doors.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you.
I appreciate your comments.
Have a good evening.
Anyone else? Anyone else in the entryway or in the hallway that would like to speak to this topic? And please keep it on topic. Thank you.
Mike Celeste, 140 South Dewey Avenue. I'm at the Heron's Landing across the river. I'm gonna kind of go off of what Blaine said here. I was outside talking to a guy in a wheelchair, and I asked him about those railroad track crossings. And his exact words were, they suck. There's like a big gap, and I went and looked at them, there's a big gap between them. You got some really nice ones over there on, is that River Road by Friskies? Carnation, train track bridge. Got some beautiful crossings over there.
Riverview Drive?
Riverview Drive, is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah, I went and looked, they got some beautiful ones over there. That's something, as long as we're talking about ADA, we should probably improve on. Let's see. You spent all this money downtown, putting all these fancy bricks in, redeveloping downtown. Trying to bring these festivals down here, we want to promote our downtown business. Wouldn't it make more sense to put your premier park downtown to bring people in from the community to create awareness of our beautiful downtown? Also, every one of you, we're at a 5 o'clock meeting, right? Oh, you were, but you all got one of these, right? These little books, whether it be electronic or elsewise. We could open up to page 14. Anyone have that? All right, page 14. It lists all the parks. It says right here, Stop and Walk Park is a neighborhood park, not a community park. Neighborhood park. That's by your paid consultants. So I don't know where we get the name that it is a community park. Your own paid consultants gave you that. Also, I think we should do a better job of putting parks in as we're planning this community. We just put, what, 20-acre development in by the golf course? Is any of that have a park set aside for it? My understanding is no. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's about it. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Anyone else that's in the doorway or the hallway that cares to speak to this issue? Second call? No? Okay, thank you for your input. At this point, I'll move on to, I'm gonna do the, review and possible action on the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. Does anyone have a motion to offer so that we can discuss this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the whole comprehensive outdoor recreation plan as presented and to direct staff and the Park and Rec Commission to review specifically the Stottenbach Park concept plan, focusing on the playground size, layout, and location within the park, and to provide recommendations back to the council for further consideration. This approach allows our council to move forward with citywide priorities in the core, that is the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, while ensuring that the Stottenbach Park playground concept remains in the park, but is carefully reviewed and refined, including its placement, size, and overall design, in response to community input before final implementation.
There's been a motion, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
So a motion and second. On discussion, I see Mr. Oldenburger's hand up. He's, for those of you who haven't noticed, he's with us virtually tonight. Alderman Oldenburger, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, Alderwoman Niles, are you, by your motion, moving to temporarily remove the Stottenbach Park portion from the CORP and approve the full CORP, but refer back the Stottenbach Park portions to the commission for further review, including additional public comment periods or public input periods?
To clarify, Scott, I am moving to approve the whole comprehensive plan and then go back to the public for further input and recommendation, to be able to get the ball rolling on financing, be able to get the ball rolling on state funding.
Can we please respect the speaker? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in that case, I'm going to move to amend Alderwoman Niles' motion to remove the Stottenbach Park portions from the CORP so that it can be, that section can be referred back to the Parks Commission for further review and for possible revision after having had additional public hearings at which comments and suggestions can be presented. I make that motion because I too am concerned about the size and cost of this. I've heard from many constituents. I've had a chance to meet with constituents on at least two to four different situations, 2 group meetings, 2 individual meetings. I've heard from them that they are concerned that they have not had sufficient opportunity to speak on this. I would note that I wish that our communications committee would have met within the last year and a half of its inception, so that perhaps policies and suggestions could
Scott,
have
why
been
don't you just make the
developed
motion?
to help increase input.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Why can't he speak? Point of order.
I want to hear, just make the motion,
And then we can discuss.
then we can discuss it.
You need a second.
Could you summarize your motion, please, Alderman Oberberger?
Sure. Again, I move to remove the Stoppenbach Park portion from the CORP so that that section can be referred back to the Parks Commission for further review, possible revision, as well as public hearings to allow for input and additional comment from the public.
It's been moved. Is there a second to that amendment to the motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and now discussion. Does anyone care to?
I would agree with that because I think that's the clearest way that we can get it back to the Parks and Rec Commission so that they can look at whether they need changes that maybe size or, you know, some of the concerns that came up, and I think the biggest concern was maybe the size of it compared to the park. But I think that's the clearest way that we can get it back to the parks is to amend this, send it back to Parks and Rec, they can send it back to us. And then also we can approve this so that we can move on and get our grant money. So I agree with that amendment.
Mr. Mayor, if we're going to be talking about public comment, what I'm been pretty disappointed is that there has not been enough talk about the children. That's the whole purpose of this portion of the plan, specifically the Stoppenbach Park portion. And if we're going to be soliciting public comment, we ought to be mentioning children, particularly young children, as part of that process. I'm not opposed to public comment. People can talk, people can call, whatever, but let's include children.
And I think if we bring it back to Parks and Rec, that is something that we could ask more input from younger children. There is input from children in this Parks and Rec report, but I think that if we take it back to Parks and Rec, that can be one thing that we ask for.
We can always also do that the other way. It says right into this motion that I have made that there's going to be focusing on the size, the layout, the location, overall design. We can consult with children on that as well.
I think that the clearest way to do it though is by amendment.
Anyone else have any feedback on that?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would add is just a comment, I guess, second that Alderman Schrader was talking about, is that if we're going to have a public comment section, that we need to make sure we're including everyone of all ages and groups, to include that we should collect name and address of individuals. We're ensuring that we're collecting the most of the citizens of Jefferson, and we should be possibly meeting or having convening a meeting in the communications committee to ensure that we're getting the widest dissemination through all forms of media to ensure the widest dissemination and maximum participation. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna call on Steve Adams. Steve is the chair of the Park and Rec Commission, and this was unanimously approved and recommended by them. I think we have a process here in Jefferson.
I'm gonna come up front.
Yes, please, if you don't mind. And in order to respect the process, I think we should take their consideration, take
Thank you.
their recommendation into consideration.
Well, we have talked about this whole process for a number of months. And we talked about the pros and the cons and everything else. And we had input, we did have a public hearing, or a public meeting. We had 6 people come. We had 6 people come to the presentation, which I thought was pretty important. 3 of them I never even saw in my life, so I don't know who they are. But again, the commission, we have worked on this, tore it apart, put it back together, tore it apart, put it back together. And I personally feel this is the best plan. It's a concept plan, but I think we must move forward because we want people to come to Jefferson as a destination place to live. Schools are important, recreation is important. We have a good library, we have a pool. The playland is for everybody, not necessarily little people, but some of the other older handicapped people that could maybe use some of those things. And I think that we would be remiss if we did not keep moving forward on this project.
Thank you, Steve. We have 2 members of the Snyder team with us tonight, and I would just ask for your comments as far as the process with regard, because some people said they didn't hear about this. If you're at the 5 o'clock meeting, you found out that all the property tax owners, the property taxpayers in the city of Jefferson received information in your December 24 tax bill about this process and that it was undergoing at that time. Can you please kind of summarize the process that you had, how many meetings and how many responses, and with regard to, with all due respect to the 50 or so people that are here tonight, can you please give us a summary on some of the responses that you got from the people that actually did come to the meetings? Thank you.
Sure, so we started the whole process in October initially with staff, understanding what's going on in the community.
Would you mind stating your name?
Oh, yes, sorry, Heidi Putnam with Snyder and Associates. And so that kickoff with city staff internally occurred in October. We started the Rotary Park process separately, since that was a separate contract with that design process in early December, and that is the point at which all of the tax bills went out. That was the first point, and that all went to, let's see, the online engagement opening up. So the week of December 16th is when our online engagement opened. That was advertised also through, I believe, your Friday email newsletter through the school district as well, which we saw a huge spike in participation from that. And let's see here, and that was open all the way through mid-February, closed on February 16th. So there were 2 months of participation availability there. That was the traditional survey as well as some other project ranking and other types of engagement tools. There are 193 separate surveys submitted on there. One of the points that is recorded in the background is the physical location of where the person is while they're taking that survey. All of them are within the city of Jefferson itself. Obviously that doesn't mean that they were necessarily a resident, but we are assuming that they are a user of the park space. We then held 6 other engagement events. There was a youth engagement pop-up event at the Basketball Youth Night on January 10th. There was an open house advertised for February 3rd, where we had all of the plan sets out available for review. That was before Stop and Back Park or any of the other concept plans were complete at that time.
Exactly.
That was all more from inventory. Then we presented the first draft of the corp, which was consolidating all of the additional feedback we had gotten to the Parks and Rec Commission on February 17th, as well as to this committee within the committee of the whole meeting on April 2nd. And then on April 28th was the first presentation of all the draft park concept plans to the Parks and Rec and Forestry Commission, which included Stop and Bach Park, Rotary Park Master Plan, as well as the Riverfront Concept Plan. That was taken then to internal review and went to the second draft with revisions made to all of those, back to the Parks and Rec Committee on May 19th. And that folded into an additional open house on June 4th. And that was where full concept plans were provided, direct for public review. In the appendix, if you pull that out from the court plan itself, every single sheet of paper that anyone voted or wrote a comment on is scanned. You can review those yourself. And there were no negative comments placed in that particular park, specifically Stop and Bach. Then we presented the final presentation of the entire corp that you have in front of you today, first to the Parks and Rec Commission on July 21st. Made a couple minor changes based on feedback there, and then presented on August 5th to this group at the Committee of the Whole again. And now we are here again today if you have any other additional questions. But that was 6 different opportunities.
Question, Mr. Mayor, you said that this plan went out with people's taxes.
It was,
No. Quiet.
I said that the notification of the comprehensive plan was sent out to the tax, in the tax rolls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's what I said.
I guess I don't remember.
There was information on the stuffer that goes in everyone's tax bill every single year about this plan.
That they were working on
That they were working on it. But what was the first time anyone was ever to see I get you named so many things, the first time they were ever to see this plan, this design in Stop and Bach Park?
The first day of that was the draft presentation on April 28th. There were minor revisions made past then. Andy, you can speak to that, maybe?
Yeah, well, minor revisions made after the 28th of April, correct.
So the 28th of April, and that was online.
It was presented in the Parks and Recreation Commission on April 28th.
So the
Could you speak into the microphone, please, so we can all?
Yeah, we can't hear you very well.
We can't hear you.
Peg? You can't hear the city older?
Yeah.
Yeah,
very well.
they can't hear me.
Sorry.
So the first time that it was to the Parks and Rec Commission on April 28th.
Correct.
So it was only the Parks and Rec Commission that got that. It wasn't the whole council that received that
On that day, that is
on
correct.
that day.
Yes.
So what was the first day that we received that?
First day that you would have received it would have been, let's see here. Draft report. Chick would have received it within the Parks and Rec Commission meeting again with the revisions made on the second draft of the court plan on May 19th. The rest of you all as a whole to this committee were presented on August 5th.
So on August 5th, we received it. So that was just 2 weeks ago.
That's correct. It was also at the open house on June 4th, which all of you were invited to as well.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just seeing that it wasn't really like back in November. It was just a couple months ago. So it's not like it, and if you're like me, I look online for my grandkids. I don't look online continuously, so it's not something that people, not all people look online. So really, if they're looking, it's June, July, and August. There's 3 months that they would have seen this that was gonna be in Stop and Bach Park. That they would have seen, because you were working for a long time, you worked very hard to get this at Riverfront. And then there was all kinds of totally screwed up everything, they couldn't get it there because of DNR and 2008 flood totally screwed up that plan. So you had to work hard at getting it somewhere else. So I don't think it is unreasonable to vote for that amendment to have the Parks and Rec, I know they've worked really hard on that, but to look at maybe that size, because of the size of Stompbach Park, that maybe the size, and that I agree with Chick that we need a bathroom on that side of the park. And, you know, but just tweak that a bit, but I do think it needs to be in an amendment so that it is clear cut and we can get that done.
Okay. Any of the council members like to weigh in on this?
If no other council member wishes to speak, I would speak a second time.
Okay.
I think the amendment is unnecessary to achieve the purposes I think the amendment is unnecessary to achieve the purposes we're trying to achieve here, which is to send it back for further analysis, discussion, opportunity for public input. I don't know what the amendment is offering on top of that besides unnecessary complexity.
Location.
So, excuse me?
Location. If it's gonna be at Stop and
Sir,
Shop Park.
this is not a debate.
No! Sir, you're out of order. Maybe I am. You are. Respect the chambers, please. That's very hard.
May I continue, please?
Please do.
So the point I was making is I think the amendment is unnecessary, adds an unnecessary layer of complexity. Chick read the portion of the original motion that says that public input will be solicited. Am I right?
Yes, I can reread it for you if you'd like.
I think it would be good to read that section specifically to help us determine whether the amendment is really necessary.
I'll read the whole thing in full then, yes. I move to approve the whole comprehensive outdoor recreation plan as presented and to direct staff and the Park and Rec Commission to review specifically the Stompbach Park concept plan, focusing on the playground's size, layout, and location within the park, and to provide recommendations back to the council for further consideration. This approach allows our council to move forward with the citywide priorities in the Corp while ensuring that the Stompbach Park playground concept remains in that park, but is carefully reviewed and refined, including its placement, size, and overall design in response to community input before final implementation.
Okay, I have a question.
Thank you.
I have a
Does
question
anyone
for
else want to
Chris.
speak? Because you've had a couple of opportunities.
No, I have a question for Chris. Is that considered
understand that.
amendment? Is
I
that
understand
considered amendment? That's my question. Is that considered an amendment to what is actually written? What she wants to ask?
She didn't give it as an amendment. She gave
I
it-
know, but she's amending what's written in this plan.
Yeah,
There's nothing here.
yeah.
This.
And you're out of order. So is it, please answer the question, Counselor.
That's gonna be hard because I don't really understand it. She's not making a motion to amend anything. The proposed plan has not been adopted, so we aren't really amending anything. At most, we're tweaking it, which is what you want.
Thank you for that explanation. Is there any other council members that would like to have input before I move? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everyone for coming. I think it's great that you get involved, but it's to be so heated over a park when there's so many things that we do in the city that you don't come to any meetings. I wish I'd see you more. I think I think it was good you got to see the financial part. We worked very hard for this city to do the right thing, to keep your taxes low. And you know, it's great that you have opinions, and I appreciate that. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. If you would please respect the speaker, you had your opportunity. Please respect others. Anyone else from the council that wishes to weigh in before we vote on the proposed amendment
To the motion.
to the motion? Mr. Obenberger, I'll come back to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that the request to remove the 3 or so pages pertaining to Stop and Bop Park isn't all that complex. It seems to me to be the safest, clearest, and simplest way to basically get to what Alderwoman Niles is indicating she supports in concept. I think that it's important for the voters of this city to know that they have a right of input, that we are listening to them, that they have an opportunity to speak. There are going to be times when we may not be able to put into place what they want, but they ought to have an opportunity to speak. And I do wish that communications committee, which has been in existence for 1.5 years, had been called for a single meeting. Because if they had been called for a single meeting, maybe we would have been able to have some policies and procedures in place that would have given people an opportunity to understand what was being discussed far sooner. I know that, quite honestly, the notice that there's going to be discussion of a CORP plan hardly puts people on notice as to what's going to happen in their front yard or backyard. It is a vague, undetermined term for so many of us because, quite honestly, we don't live in the world of government every day. Most people don't. And so giving people notice of a CORP doesn't give them notice. It simply says we're talking about something with letters that mean nothing to 99% of the electorate. So I am hopeful that that the council will support the amendment, give the people an opportunity to speak out on this, have input, have the commission review it, possibly revise it, and bring it back before the council as a whole with the comfort that people have had a chance to have a meaningful opportunity to speak out and give their opinion on the approach that we are looking at taking with Stop and Bop Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll mostly, for the most part, echo what Alderman Oberger is saying. The only thing I really wanted to add is that in terms of, I can't remember who said it, but someone brought the point that we don't have districted older persons anymore, but we're older persons at large. Yes, sir. So you can contact any of us, or information on the city webpage.
We did.
I did respond to the people who did. I actually had 2 people reach out to me and I met with everyone, but I want to make it open and when can reach out to us. I do plan on making a older person Facebook page and post that to the community, so please be on the lookout and please contact me if you need anything. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the council? Lori? Toby? Okay, we're going to call the question on the motion that Alderman Overberger made, which is to approve the comp plan, but remove Stop and Bop Park and to send that back for reconsideration by the Park and Rec Commission. Is that accurate? Okay. So all in favor of that amendment to the original motion, please signify by saying aye as your name is called, no if you're opposed.
Alderwoman Teeter.
No.
Tully.
No.
Fire. Aye. Niles.
No.
Obenberger.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Schrader.
No.
Mackey.
Aye.
Okay.
That's a tie, Mayor, so you'd have to vote.
Okay. I will vote in favor of the amendment. And we will take that motion for a vote. So, all in favor of the vote and the resolution as amended, please signify by saying aye as your name is called. That needs to pass the comprehensive plan without the Stoppenbach Park plan and refer the Stoppenbach Park plan back to the Park and Rec Commission. All in favor, please signify by saying aye as your name is called.
Alderman Tully.
Aye. No, fairly. Opposed. Okay, yeah, aye.
Fire.
Aye.
Miles.
No.
Overberger.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Matkey.
Aye.
Teeter.
Aye.
Okay, it passes 7-1. Correct? Okay, thank you. That's our decision for tonight, and it will be referred back. The comprehensive plan has been adopted. The Stoppenbach Park plan has been reviewed, referred back to the Park and Rec Commission for further review and public input. I'm going to table the number 5. And we'll move on to ordinance number 8-25. If we could, please respect leave quietly, we have work to do yet tonight. Ordinance number 8-25, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the municipal code of the city of Jefferson related to the zoning map amendment to the general development plan and planned unit development district. Alderman Schrader, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to locate the text. Bring it up here. Thank you. By way of explanation, this ordinance has to do with what's commonly known as the old highway shop. Whereas there has been a request submitted by City North Development, LLC, the developer, for an amendment to the city zoning map. And whereas the city's plan commission held a public hearing to consider the developer's request for approval of said request, and whereas the plan commission has determined that the PUD is in compliance with all requirements of the city zoning ordinance, provided that the conditions of approval are set forth below have been met in full by the developer. And whereas the city council has reviewed the staff report to the plan commission and has considered the plan commission finding that the PUD is in the best interest of the city and should be approved. Now therefore, the common council does hereby ordain as follows. Section 1 lists the parcel numbers in detail. Skipping to section 2, the proposed PUD filed in this matter is hereby approved and incorporated herein by reference subject to the following conditions. A, that the developer acquires legal title of the real estate covered by this ordinance and described below. B, that the developer complies with the city's park fees regulations at the time a building permit is issued to the developer. C, that the developer comply with the provisions of a certain developer's agreement dated November 15, 2024 by the parties and the terms of any purchase agreement made by the parties. D, that the developer complies with all requirements set forth and approved by the Plan Commission and the City Council within the General Development Plan, GDP, and each phase's specific implementation plan, unless said GDP, another page, thank you, or SIP is amended in accordance with section 300.10.45 of the City of Jefferson zoning ordinance. E, that developer commence construction of its project plans for the real estate covered by this ordinance within 6 months following approval of the GDP. F, this plan development district GDP shall be binding upon the owner of the real estate within the district and its successors and assigns and enforceable by the City of Jefferson. C, description of property, see attached. Section 4, this ordinance shall be effective upon passage and publication as provided by law. For those parts of the ordinance which are some details on parcel numbers and such, the full text of the ordinance is available at City Hall during regular business hours for public inspection. This is the first reading, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Schrader. Next, we'll move on to resolution number 36, and if I could ask the people in the hallway to please step a little further away from the door, it would help us be able to do our business here. Thank you. Resolution number 36, tonight's consent agenda. Alderwoman Teeter, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, citizens of Jefferson, and council members. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that the consent agenda for August 19, 2025 is hereby adopted. Vouchers payable for August payables in the amount of $236.95. Payroll summary for August 8th, 2025 for the amount of $202,781.44. Council minutes from August 5th, 2025 of the Common Council. Licenses approved by the Regulatory Committee, including one new operator's license, a temporary Class B license for the Jefferson County Lodge 9 for the Madison Class Car Show for September 26th to 27th, closure of the right-of-way Meet the Kite Days on South Gardner, September 14, 2025, and sales of goods in the right-of-way for the Meet the Kite Days, September 14, 2025. I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Alderman Larson. Any questions or comments?
This has been approved in our Regulatory Committee.
Thank you. There are no questions or comments. All in favor of tonight's consent agenda, please signify by saying aye as your name is called. No, if you're opposed.
Alderman Byer.
Aye.
Niles.
Aye.
Holmberger.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mackey.
Aye.
Teeter.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye. Thank you. Resolution number 37, a resolution accepting general purpose and utility financial statements and audit reports. Alderman Tully, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Opperman, City of Jefferson, Resolution Number 37. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson that the 2024 general purpose and utility financial statements and audit reports are hereby accepted. I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Niles.
You got a short one.
Any questions, comments? We all heard the audit tonight. Finance Committee has reviewed this.
And recommends.
Thank you. If there are no questions or comments, all in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye as your name is called. No opposed.
Alderman Niles.
Aye.
Holmberger.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mackey.
Aye.
Teeter.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Byer.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Resolution number 38, a resolution authorizing a contract with Veerbacher Engineering for civil engineering services related to the One Rock River Road redevelopment project. Alderman Larson, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Opperman. City Council, Citizens of Jefferson, whereas Phase 1 of the Environmental Site Assessment, known as an ESA, completed in the spring of 2025, indicated potential recognized environmental conditions at the One Rock River Road property. We need to do an ongoing Phase 2 ESA. The Rock River's floodplain encroaches onto the site with both the floodway and floodplain mapped within the two parcels compromising the subject property. The city desires to remove the majority of the lot from the floodplain through the placement of the fill. The project is not intended to impact the floodway. Utilities are also planned for reconstruction to facilitate the site redevelopment from industrial to mixed-use residential, commercial, and parkland. Whereas city staff is recommending that Weierbricker Engineering be retained to provide the next phase of engineering services required to ready the subject property for redevelopment and reuse. These services are to include a topographical survey, schematic design, design development, demolition plan, construction documents, hydraulic analysis, and FEMA, Homer, WDNR floodplain documentation, and final FEMA, Wilmer documentation. Now, therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that is herein approves a contract with Weierbricker Engineering in an amount not to exceed $111,700,000 for the above referenced engineering services and authorize the city administrator to sign the contract on behalf of the city of Jefferson upon review consent to the city attorney. And I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Markey. And discussion?
We discussed this in finance, and again, it was unanimous to approve it.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of resolution number 38, please signify by saying aye as your name is called. All if you're opposed.
Alderman Oldenburger.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mackey.
Aye.
Teeter.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Fire.
Aye.
Niles.
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you. Resolution number 39, a resolution authorizing investigation work and a contract with Geosyntec Consultants for additional environmental consulting services for One Rock River Road property. Alderwoman Byer, please.
Honorable Mayor, council members, and citizens, whereas Geosyntec Consultants Incorporated, Synotech recently completed a Phase 2 environmental investigation of Rock River Road property based upon results of the recent Phase 2 environmental site assessment, ESA, completed by Geosyntec. Environmental contamination has been identified in the subsurface that requires further investigation in accordance with the Wisconsin Administrative Code, Chapter NR 700, Series of Regulations, and the ready site for potential redevelopment. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that it herein approves a contract with Geosyntec to develop a site investigation work plan, including $700 Wisconsin Department of Natural Resource review fee for the subject property at a cost of not to exceed $11,000, and authorize the city administrator to execute and contract on the behalf of the City of Jefferson. I would so move.
It's been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Teeter. Discussion?
Again, discussed at finance, and the recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. And the presentation was made at the committee of the whole meeting this evening, if you were not here. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of resolution number 39, please signify by saying aye as your name is called. No if you're opposed.
Alderman Larson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mackey.
Aye.
Teeter.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Fire.
Aye.
Niles.
Aye.
Oldenburger.
Aye.
It's
Sorry
unanimous.
to interrupt, can somebody, go downstairs and unlock the door so I can get out? Door doesn't work.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 1E of the Wisconsin State Statutes to discuss purchase of public properties and the investing of public funds or conduction of other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session to discuss industrial business prospects.
I would so move.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye as your name is called. All opposed.
Alderman Schrader.
Aye.
Mackey.
Aye.
Teeter.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Fire. Aye. Niles.
Aye.
Oldenburger.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Okay. We are in closed session. We will reconvene to open session, but we will not be doing any more official business tonight. Thank you very much for coming.
This conference is no longer being recorded.